Alright, hello everyone, it's Team Rocket Jaws here with another Pokemon drawing tutorial. And for this video guys, we're gonna be drawing Regidrago. So as you guys can see on screen, this is how it ends up looking like. So if you guys want to learn how to draw it, then let's get started. I'm also gonna put up a reference right now on screen, that way it's easier for you guys to draw, and at the same time you guys can get all your details. Just keep in mind guys that we're gonna start off by doing a sketch, and then from there on you guys are gonna do your final drawing. So remember to do your lines light. Just like my other tutorials, we're gonna start off by doing a circle, and once we have that, we're gonna split it in half both ways. And just keep in mind that the better that you guys make the circle, the easier it is to follow the tutorial. And by no means is mine a perfect circle, but it will do the job. So once again, the better that you guys make it right in the middle, the easier the tutorial will be, and the better that it will come out. Now that we have that, we're actually going to measure it. Right here I'm using a spare piece of paper, so now we're actually going to measure the length of the circle starting in the middle, and then right here I mark off half of the circle, so it should be around there, and it should actually line up exactly at the top of the circle guys. But since I didn't cut it like right in the middle, it's not proportioned, it's not centered, and it doesn't, you guys can go ahead and do it perfectly, but it doesn't have to be. And then once we have those lines, we could actually go ahead and do this other circle. So right here I'm just using the spare piece of paper to measure. And as you guys can see, I'm not happy with it because I can see that the top left part is kind of like cut off, and it doesn't look right. And yeah, so I try once more, but it basically looks the same, so I just leave it. Once we have that guys, we're gonna split each half into half, so make these into quarters. So from the middle to the outside of that line, just split it where you guys think it's the half. That's actually gonna come in handy a lot. So now we're gonna do a line on top of this circle that's basically half of the circle. So you guys can use a ruler or whatever just to measure. This other line right here coming down is actually a quarter of the circle. So as I'm pointing right there, from there to there, it should be from there to the line at the bottom. And we do that line at the bottom just as a reference line. Now we're gonna do this other line right here guys. Just make sure that you see where it like starts and the way that it heads. There we go. I use the spare piece of paper as a ruler, that way I make sure I make it straight. Now around the middle right there, as I point out to the top, we're gonna do it straight up. Now that we have that, we're gonna do the bottom right here, so it's a little bit to the left of that middle right there, or that quarter, and we could just connect it. Now for the legs, once again, just try to make the legs the same thickness on both sides guys, same size basically. And this tutorial is actually fairly not hard guys, but it's gonna be fairly complicated, so just keep that in mind. Now we're gonna do this other line right here coming out of the top of the middle line right there of that circle, and it should be the length of the circle once again. And then we're actually gonna you know, make it into a rectangle shape. And this rectangle shape should be a little bit higher or longer than a quarter of the circle. I didn't measure it guys because it doesn't have to be perfect. Once we have that, we're gonna split it in half. I actually went over the circle just to show you guys, you know, that the better that you guys make the rectangle, the more even it is, the better. So now around here, we're actually gonna start by doing the teeth. So just by looking at the parts of the circles that we did, you guys can get an idea of where to do these. For example, that tooth goes to that middle, doesn't go to the right side of the circle. And just try to make all these teeth the same size roughly guys. Just keep that in mind once again. There we go. This one's a little bit bigger because it's the front one. And now for the shape of the head right there, it doesn't go outside of the circle. Now for this one right here, there we go. And right here I'm just pointing out that on either side of that line, it should be the same thickness. Now we could go ahead and erase some of these reference lines, because having so many lines does make the drawing a little bit confusing. Now around here guys, we're gonna do that line for the eye. Actually connects to around there, and it goes to around here. Actually doesn't connect, guys. That's why I erased it right there. It doesn't go all the way to the middle of the circle. Now we could do the rest of this right here. Alright, so now for the rest of the eye, we could actually do the inner part of the eye. And this one actually does connect, or goes a little bit further than the circle. And I guess that one did meet up in the circle in the end. Now for this shape right here, actually gets fairly close around there. And the band that we did earlier. Now to finish off the side of the head right here, and like I mentioned before, this is the part that's more complicated out of Regidrago. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna correct me in the comment section below, but that's probably the hardest part, guys. So that's why it really helps out to do those marks, you know, like a quarter of the circles, because then you can basically base some of these lines to those, right, like where they are. Now for this horn over here, it actually connects to around there. Now that we have that, we can actually do the horn that sticks out a little bit. There we go, and just try to get it roughly the same thickness as the other one. Now this actually goes outside of the circle and connects to around here like that. Now that one doesn't actually connect, so I do erase it. I was just doing that just to make it a little bit easier on you guys. Now for this part of the nose, or I guess of the skull, to around here, I do these reference lines just to give me an idea, guys, where to actually, you know, how high to do them. Now we could actually see the other part of the tooth right there. Now we could go ahead and erase some of these reference lines, or those lines that we did earlier, because we no longer need them. Some of these detail lines, and now we could just go ahead and erase all the basically the circle that we did earlier, guys, and all the different like reference lines that we use. So I recommend looking at the reference just so you guys can get an idea what lines to keep. And once we have this sketch of the skull, guys, it's gonna be a lot easier to make any changes. So if something doesn't look right, go back and now just, you know, just change it, because everybody's drawing is going to be differently. Alright, so now for the eyes of Regidrago, they're basically these circles right there. I was showing you guys that the top, the first and the third circle at the top are like basically in the same level, as well as the bottom two. Now that we have those, we could actually start by doing a tooth right there in the middle. We have another one here and one in the middle. So right here I do this reference line just to show you guys that, or not to show you, but just also to help me do these teeth, because now I know that it shouldn't go further than that line, so it just makes it a little bit easier overall. Now this actually extends to around there. And now we could do the rest of the skull. So around the middle right there, I do a reference line, and that's where it basically like starts bending and getting the shape of the top of the head a little bit. And yeah, so now down here we could actually start doing the teeth as well on this side. And something that I want you guys to once again keep in mind is that the teeth on this part of the skull, basically is like the jaw, should be the same or similar in size to the teeth on the top skull, or the left part. And there we go, and just try to keep them, you know, similar. That way it makes sense, guys. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, the closer you get to the size, the better it'll look, or the less noticeable it will be, I guess. Now we can just start erasing once again the details right there, not the details but the reference lines. Now we could just go ahead and start doing some of these details, like for example the foot right here. This is actually probably one of the hardest parts of Regigigas, just doing the feet right there. And just keep in mind, guys, that the reference is there just to help us. Doesn't mean that our drawing has to be perfect. So if something doesn't line up properly in your drawing, like the reference or like in my drawing, then just make it work for yours. You know, like everybody's gonna do their drawing differently. Nobody's gonna do it similar. Even though you guys are following my tutorial, it's never gonna look the same. So if I redraw this, it's not gonna look the same as I'm doing it here. So always make your drawing yours, if that makes any sense. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And one of those things like that, kind of to give you an idea what I mean, is at the top of the head right there of Regidrago, the actual like circle, actually him, not the skull, the gap between both the bottom jaw and the top jaw on the reference, it's a lot wider than the gap on my drawing. And even though that, you know, it's not like the reference, I made it work for me. You know, like if you just look at my sketch right now, you guys wouldn't really like be like, oh, that looks different or it's wrong or nothing. No, because I made it work for mine. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point, that you need to make yours work. So if you don't do something like exactly the same as whatever you're drawing, and then you try to like imitate it and, you know, fix it and whatnot, then it's always gonna look odd. It's gonna look different. It's not gonna work out because you're trying to alter your sketch to the reference. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to get it similar, but you're not doing it properly, and nobody will, you know what I mean? Unless you literally just scan it and print it out, it's never gonna be exactly the same. So you guys need to make your sketch your own drawing and make any changes on yours. For example, maybe the teeth, you know, are not the same size. Now's your time to do that. Now that you have your sketch. And I did end up coloring it. I was actually pretty happy with mine. The only thing that I think I went back and I changed or I worked on a little bit was the top of the head. Other than that, guys, I was actually pretty happy with it. So remember to just use the reference as a guide to know what lines to keep and which ones to erase. And yeah, so the way that I did it this time, guys, once you finish your sketch, I personally just outlined mine, and then I waited for the ink to dry, and then I erased the pencil. A lot of people like to do that. Other people like to, like in some of the other tutorials that I have, is that I basically erase the whole drawing or the whole sketch, and even though I'm erasing it, I can still see the lines. I can still see where, you know, basically the shape of it. So then I go back and I redraw the lines, and it just gives me like a cleaner drawing, if that makes any sense. Other people like tracing it into a different paper just to make it look a lot cleaner, or a lot of people like just the sketch effect or the sketch look where you guys can see the actual sketch, and that's my personal favorite. I like looking at, you know, the sketch because that's what you did in order to get your drawing. So if I wasn't doing like a video or anything, guys, I would have kept my pencil, you know, sketch right there, and, you know, not made it like clean the way it is right now. And even though I'm saying that it's clean, it's not really, because you guys can still see some of the lines that I did earlier, you know, like part of the circle on top of the head, on the skull. You guys can see like a little line that's left over because I wasn't able to fully erase it. And I don't know, guys, so it depends on how you guys want to take it from here on. I did end up coloring it. As you guys see here, I used my Prisma Premier color markers and my Copics, and then I just went over it with some color pencils just to add a little bit more of shading. I didn't have the exact colors to color Regidrago, but I think I was close enough. You know, I'm fairly happy with it. So let me know in the comment section below, guys. And before I go, another thing that I ended up changing actually after I did my sketch was the size of the eyes. I had done them too big, so I did go back and I made them a little bit smaller. So yeah, guys, so don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos, and I guess I'll just catch you guys on the next one. Team Rocket Draws out.